to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by
me, Rob, on this special Tuesday episode.
Special edition, Rob. You know what this calls for, right?
Special time.
It calls for a little bit of... Oh, yes. Breaking news, everybody. The Giants have signed tonight Russell freaking Wilson. Let's ride, Giants country. Let's ride. Here we go. After years, it feels like, of talking about this being a potential thing to happen, Russell Wilson is officially a Giant now. The terms are being reported as a one-year deal. It's said to be $10.5 million guaranteed, up to $21 million, which tells you, obviously, there are some incentives that are going to be thrown out there in this whole entire thing. And, guys, look at what a difference a year makes in the quarterback room, right? I mean, we went from Daniel Jones and Drew Lock to Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston.
And the best part is, one, the quarterback room's not done yet. And two, these two quarterbacks are cheaper than what Danny Downs was last year.
It's scary, isn't it? That's really scary. Like, it could be as little as $14.5 million for these two guys. That's insanity. And, you know, we thought that Jameis Winston was upgraded. Let's be very clear. Jameis Winston is an upgrade over what we had last year.
Yeah.
He's now officially the backup.
We've talked about it. I beat that drum a year ago. Jameis Winston should have been in this room a year ago.
Yes.
Because he would have been the starter.
100%. I can't believe that that hasn't happened earlier. That's just absolutely insane. So Russell Wilson, real quick, let's go over what he did last year with the Steelers, which still sounds weird, even though that season's already over now that he played for the Steelers. 11 games, all starts for him, 6-5 record, 63.7 completion percentage, 2,482 yards, 16 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Sacked 33 times, so definitely got hit a few times, which means he's primed and ready to be a New York Giant.
Let's also be real that Steelers offensive line has taken a step back in the past few years.
It definitely has. 43 rushes, 155 yards rushing, and 2 touchdowns there. So still got a little get up and go there on the legs there. Obviously, the big thing now is we're not getting the Russell Wilson of old. Let's be honest on that, guys.
No,
let's not get excited.
We're not getting the guy that went to the Super Bowl and won.
Q share with you if I could turn back time here. But, I mean, the guy is 36 years old. He's going to turn 37 in season there. He turns 37 there a couple of days after Thanksgiving. So, we got to be honest and say we're on the last leg of let's ride here when it comes to Russell Wilson there. But
the three-legged horse.
Yeah, but this is quite obviously the most decorated quarterback to enter the New York Giants locker room since the days of Eli Manning. And let's be honest here, you could also make the claim that he's more decorated than Eli Manning was. You could say he's the most decorated quarterback since Kurt Warner, even at that point, if you want to go to that degree, which is probably a very good comparison considering that he's only a one-year deal, and we still think they're going to be drafting a quarterback here. Here's the awards he's gotten over his career. I think this makes me feel warm and fuzzy to say him. Last year, he was a Pro Bowler, 22 Bart Starr Award winner, 21 Pro Bowl, 2020 Pro Bowl, Walter Payton Man of the Year, NFC Offensive Player of the Month for September, was Pro Bowler in 2019, second team All-Pro, and a Pro Bowler in 18, Pro Bowler in 17, Pro Bowler in 15, Pro Bowler in 14, and Pro Bowler in 13, and then also a Pro Bowler in 2012, which is a rookie year. We also won Rookie of the Year. They're both Pepsi Max NFL Rookie of the Year and the Sports Illustrated Offensive Rookie of the Year as well, guys. Again, we're not getting that version of Russell Wilson. Let's be very, very clear. Very, very clear. But Russell Wilson of last year would be a huge upgrade over what we had. Absolutely huge upgrade. And again, this is a 1-year deal, guys. 1-year deal. This does not stop you from doing anything you want draft-wise at the quarterback position if the Giants so choose. What this does do, though, is give two competent quarterbacks in the locker room. Now, are they really Pro Bowl caliber? Let's be honest. Russell Wilson is that Pro Bowler last year. He's not let's be honest. That he wasn't. You don't look at the AFC and go, Russell Wilson was one of the best quarterbacks in that conference last year. Of course not. He got in because nobody else wants to play. But we're still giving him the credit because he still technically was in the Pro Bowl. But you still got a guy again that's competent. And Rob,
go to the Steelers, go to the Broncos, go to the Steelers. Really humble this guy big time. And you say competence, it's not only competent, he's got the experience that this room has not had since Eli left. Danny Dimes has got quite a few starts, yes, but has he seen what Russell has? Has he been around the league as long as James Winston has and seen different teams like Winston has? No, this is the most competent room we've had since Eli has left.
Now, let's be honest again. The bar is set low, and that's part of why we can say that. I just want to throw that out there because I don't want to make it seem like we're trying to suggest we made the signing of the offseason just now. But
no,
imagine for a second how Russell Wilson is going to look with a legit receiving core around him, because that's one thing we got to talk about here when it comes to the Steelers and what they had issue-wise last year. George Pickens was out for a good portion of the year there. The offense was definitely, lacking overall. And part of that is blaming the offensive coordinator, the former Atlanta Falcons head coach there, who definitely was a run first and didn't really go with the modern flow there, so to speak. Some of that also goes in the fact that, again, they were having issues at the receiving core there, Here's the receivers for you there. So you had 14 games for George Pickens with 59 catches, 900 yards, 3 touchdowns. Not exactly great. No, we're horrible. I'm not saying Pickens is a legit NFL receiver, but that's not great. They don't have a single guy with over 700 yards after that.
No, but they spread the ball around a lot.
They only had 2 guys over 500 yards besides Pickens. To me, it's just wow. This is just craziness to me to look at what's going on at that, at the offense there. And then they kept on, like I said, running the ball. I mean, they had Najee Harris, obviously a little over 1,000 yards, and 500 yards for Warren, their backup. I just think that this is a move that Russell Wilson, besides the benefits he gets for his wife, because we talked about this before in the show, his wife, Sierra, obviously a musician of note. I don't even know if she's considered relevant anymore too much, because to be very frank, it's just not the kind of music I listen to. Give me some old-fashioned rock and roll kind of music, just soothes the soul. But it works out for him, but it also works out for him because of the fact that he now has Malik Neighbors, who is the best receiver he has played with since he left Seattle. And we saw what he did there. Again, I'm not saying he's going to be Russell Wilson of old. I'm just saying that is the best receiver he has played with since he left Seattle. Then you throw in the fact that, how we all think about Wan'Dale Robinson and Darius Slayton. And let's be honest, Darius Slayton has never had a competent quarterback. And he's been a guy who most years, 700 yards, it's just almost like book it, just ready to go. That's what he's going to be. Then you throw in the fact that Wan'Dale Robinson literally was this close to being a 100 catch guy, which is what we said he'd be. But they kept targeting him 2 yards down the field. Now you get a competent quarterback in there. I'm telling you guys, This offense, and again, my excitement is because we're not going to be an embarrassment. My excitement is not because we're going to be, the modern version of the, the St. Louis Rams here with Kurt Warner and Torrey Holt and all. Like, I'm not trying to make anything crazy here, but this is going to be a much better version of the Giants right now, guaranteed. Plus, throw in the fact that, guys, Brian Dable is said to not be calling the plays.
Yeah. When was our offense most exciting?
22.
Mike Kafka was calling the plays.
Yes. So you throw in Kafka calling the plays, having a competent quarterback room. You also got to hope for some health on the offensive line because, again, that's one of the issues there. But I'm not saying Russell Wilson is going to look Pro Bowl caliber, like legit Pro Bowl. Not that I got him because 10 guys didn't want to go. But I do think he's going to be a guy who's going to be an average quarterback in this league. And listen, guys, I'll take that in a heartbeat right now to what we've been dealing with. This is going to be a nice improvement there. Now, here's what we got to look at, though. We got to kind of state this, and I think this might be the last time you mention this guy's name on the show for a while. Aaron Rodgers. This has got to take us out of the Aaron Rodgers running.
100%.
And I think Aaron Rodgers probably took us out of the running. Let's be very frank on that. The Giants would have preferred to get Aaron Rodgers. I mean, it's everything you read. I think they were waiting for Aaron Rodgers was everything you read. And then all of a sudden this went down today, which tells me chances are Aaron Rodgers told them, we're good.
Yeah, or they might get fed up like, oh, no, I might need another week. And they just went, you know what?
Yeah.
You've had plenty of time.
Let's be honest. He strung us along forever, and we were friend zoned.
Yeah.
That's exactly what was going on. So I'm glad the Giants finally moved on. I don't know
take them on another
particular. Date. We'll probably find out later on at some point what happened there, but that fiasco is officially over. So, the other thing we got to figure out now is what happens as far as the draft. I think that you're looking at a guy who, again, 1-year deal. You got Jameis Winston on a 2-year deal, and he's obviously going to be the backup as it stands right now. I don't think this takes us out of the running at all for a quarterback. What I think this does in the draft is this makes quarterback to not be a necessity, which it was leading up to the signing. Like, I could go into this draft now and go, if you don't draft a quarterback in the first round, it's not a big deal. We can wait till next year now because we have quarterbacks.
You can still argue that quarterback is a necessity, but it takes the pressure off. Like, if there's like pressure on, like, if the Browns to say like want to put pressure on us and give us a terrible trade up, we'd be like, no, we're good. Or if you want to trade down and like people are like, well, you really want Sedora, like this, that, like, listen, man, there's no pressure.
I would honestly, if they love Shedeur Sanders, I have no problem going to get Shedeur Sanders, letting him sit for a year behind Winston and Wilson. I don't want to be touching the field.
I mean, he's definitely not out of the question.
No, but we all know the issues we have. I mean, again, Colorado, who the hell they play? I still question some of the competition level he had. I still question the fact that a lot of the yards that he got were yak yards. He kind of got fed the ball to the right receivers. Hunter and crew have a decent receiving core. I also don't like the fact that when he gets pressure, he moves backwards. I have my questions on Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah.
But I also can understand if they go, you know what? We're going to be better this year, hopefully. We're not going to be in the position again to do this, hopefully, next year. Go ahead and take him. Let him sit for a year. Let's develop him. Let's work on him. Let him and Kafka and Dave all get together and sing Kumbaya. Let's do this.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that. But I also have no problem with them saying, you know what? We don't like Shedeur Sanders that much. We're going to go ahead and get a one in the third or fourth round. We'll go get a guy like Quinn Ewers, a Dylan Gabriel,
Howard, if you will.
I would have said Shuck until recently. He's kind of climbing up the boards, but I have no problem with them saying, we'll take a guy in the mid round to see if we can develop him. If we can't, throw it away. Maybe he's a backup long term, but we're not killing ourselves like that. And if you trade down, maybe you get some extra ammo for next year to move back up again if you have to.
Yeah.
But I do think they're still going to have the chance to draft a quarterback, and I do think they're going to have a chance to draft Shedeur Sanders, to be very frank with you guys. Part of the rumor is, though, that the Giants realized that they're going to have no shot now of getting Cam Ward. That's part of the rumors I've been hearing, is that the Giants want to trade down, obviously, to go get Cam Ward. They're now saying that the Titans are in love with the idea of getting Cam Ward, according to a lot of reports, because of his pro day. Rob, let me ask you this question. When's the last time a guy didn't look good at a pro day?
I mean,
I hate that pro day bullshit. I really do.
We're hyped up in Turbo Miller by not doing everything in Combine Pro Day. But I hear what you're saying. Like, just because you could put up stat numbers doesn't mean you could play the game. It means you could understand that, the simulation or just run straight. You're not running straight as people are running at you. There's a difference in how you run.
I feel like there are every year there's guys who just climb boards because of a great pro day. Like, remember Zach Wilson a couple years ago with the Jets? And I don't see, what the big deal is when, he looked great in a pro day. So you mean he looked great in a practice with no rushers, with no defense. No defense of any kind, no offensive lineman blocking any of his view, and throwing to receivers he's been throwing to all year long? He better look good in that scenario, goddammit. I don't know. I don't ever get why people are so excited about pro days, but
I get sometimes why, like, if you're not utilized correctly in a school, and you can go out there and show like some of your talents that have not been shown on the field, that could change some things. But pretty much 80% of the time, you know what you got in a player.
Yeah, and you use Dante Miller, Turbo Miller there as an example, and I'll use that. Like, here's a guy that a lot of people didn't necessarily see because he played at a very, non-football school at that point there, and he didn't really get to play at all in South Carolina. And that's a scenario where they can go, okay, well, he looks really good at this pro day. Let's go back and watch his film now. You're watching Cam Ward's film. You know what he is already. There's no surprise here. There's just nothing that's surprise-wise. So I don't know. But like I said, I just find it interesting that how this is going down now. Because like I said, I don't think there's any change in how the Giants are going to necessarily go this draft. But they're not forced. They're not forced to go get Shedeur Sanders at 3 if they don't like him. And that's the one difference you can say. But you can still get him if you love him. You got to be in, as Gettleman said, the full bloom love now to go get him. You don't have to force the pick.
Yeah.
So, honestly, though, if we don't like Shedeur Sanders, though, I don't want to trade down. Get the picks. Get the picks. I don't think there's that much of a difference, really, with some of the guys. But yeah, Russell Wilson, guys, officially a New York Giant. We're not going to be on too long tonight, guys, because again, this is kind of a bonus episode. I just woke up one day from a nap. Yes, I'm that old. I nap sometimes. It is what it is. Rob is doing work. Listen, I still got to edit all the rest of last night's show, even at that point. They're going to get notes ready for tomorrow. It is what it is. But plus, I got like 4 hours sleep last night. So, I'm old. I had to get a little nap. Let's get your comments, though, guys, real quick. And if you haven't already or anything else you want to put in there, feel free to keep those comments rolling. Robert NY Giant said this is a great move. Get Carter or Hunter now. Great move. I agree. I'm not a Carter or Hunter fan personally. I know I got blasted for that a little bit. Again, Carter, I worry about the injury issues. Hunter, I worry about the same thing as we said with Shedeur Sanders. Who the hell did he really play?
It's also like, once again, like we talked about too, when it comes to Hunter, like, he's an athlete. He's a dude that goes out there. And the funnest thing I've seen about Hunter is, like, if Wentz is our, quarterback one, I think, Drew, you said to me, if he's our quarterback one, then, Hunter would be our perfect wide receiver because he could also be the corner that catches the interception.
Exactly. I read that online. I won't take credit for that, but yeah.
At the same time, like, he's a dual guy. Like, what do you play? Do you play him nonstop through the whole game?
Yeah.
Like, it's
not a fan of it. Jay says, what a dumb signing. We're going to respectfully disagree, Jay. Respectfully. Capitans is Adrian and Rob. What's up, man?
What's up, man?
Jay says, why is DJ getting 14 minutes at the beginning of the free agency? And Jameis and Wilson are barely wanted for 10 and 4 million, though. Here's the difference with DJ, Jay. And this is where we gotta realize how the mighty have fallen here. DJ is getting what we call Sam Darnold disease syndrome here, basically. So people are looking at certain players this year. Again, this is a very much a monkey see, monkey do kind of league at that point. They're looking, oh, Sam Darnold. The Jets couldn't get him going. The Panthers couldn't get him going. He goes to the Minnesota Vikings, and he looks great now. Maybe there's other reclamation projects that we can fix. That's why Justin Fields got money. He got a decent amount of money, by the way. This is why DJ got a decent amount of money. Because people are looking at who's out there that came from a franchise that has not been good lately. That was a highly touted prospect coming out of college. That's what both those guys fall into. Same as Sam Darnold. This is Sam Darnold's disease and syndrome here.
Big time. And plus, you got Russell and James Winston, who are not in their prime anymore. Yeah. So they're a little seasoned and flaking out, if you will.
Yeah, plus Russell Wilson took a pay cut basically from what he would have gotten in his prime to make sure he stays as a starter. He could have probably gone somewhere else and made more money as a backup, potentially. Same as Daniel Jones. He wanted a place where he's guaranteed a chance to start. DJ is going to be a backup. That's what it boils down to. So, Jay says, you can't be bullish on this. Yes, we can. Bully!
Bully, bully, bully.
Connor says, poor Jameis thinking he's a starter. Why waste money on a Russ? Get a defensive end or more blocking. I don't think Jameis Winston was ever told he'd be the starter.
Pretty sure he was told from the get-go, hey, we're going to sign you. You may be the starter, but we're going to sign other quarterbacks.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think
part of this room.
And I don't think they told him anything as far as that. They probably said, hey, listen, we'd love to sign you. We'd love to be happy as part of this quarterback room. We are going to look to bring others in here. We don't know what's going to happen, who's going to start, but we'd love to have you be part of what we're building here. That's probably exactly the way he pitched it.
Yeah. And listen, and Jameis Winston, at his point in his career, like where he's came from and what he's been doing, like he's fine with taking that backup role with the opportunity to start to prove himself. Keep himself in this league.
Yeah, he's at the just keep myself in the league stage of his career. Yeah. He definitely is. Deb says, I don't think Jameis was brought in to be number one. He's getting backup money. Exactly. Connor says, Daniel Jones is probably laughing, saying, I make more money. I don't think he is. Daniel Jones is a nice guy. He doesn't laugh at anybody. He doesn't.
Yeah.
I still stand by my statements that he's a very nice guy. He just strikes me as such. Jay says, yeah, dumb signing. We get the ultimate culture guy in Jameis, then mess it up by bringing cringe Russ. I didn't hear any issues with him in Pittsburgh. Did you, Rob?
No. I think, listen, he definitely was going into the Broncos, going into Colorado. But I think that humbled him. And pretty much got fired by Payton. Really humbled him.
And I think also, you look at what happened with him in Denver, and I feel like when the story came out, it was a big thing about him having his own office and blah, blah, blah. But then I look at the stories that came out a little afterwards, and some guys were like, yeah, that's not uncommon. Now, I don't play professional football. I don't work for a professional football franchise, so I don't pretend to know common or not. But I feel like there's a lot of things that happen in the ins and outs of football that people aren't necessarily privy to happening. And if that's the case, then who would it judge that one person got an office if that's something that's normal or whatever? And in some cases, again, some cases, not all cases, who cares? And the main reason I don't care is because it doesn't affect the Giants. All I care about is what did he do last year? Last year, he came in, he played in an offense that he, quite frankly, did not like, with receivers that were not very good, besides Pickens, and he still got them to the playoffs.
Yeah. Didn't Pickens just get traded too? Isn't he?
No, he's still there. Him and Metcalf, combination, are still there. But there was a lot of rumors right now that Arthur Smith, again, former Falcons head coach, who is the offensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And him and Russell Wilson were not getting along because Russell Wilson disagreed with how he ran his offense. Now, Arthur Smith is the guy who was also the offensive coordinator back in Tennessee as well. He runs a very old school smash mouth football kind of offense. And I don't think that he's the only one who's had these issues with Arthur Smith either, for the record. So I don't think we can judge a lot on what he did on the field necessarily last year with Pittsburgh, but I do think we can sit there and say we didn't hear any issue with him as far as a teammate. So if we're worried about the culture part, I'm not worried about that. I'm really not. I think that those two together work together fine. Jay says DJ's making more than both these cons put together. I wouldn't act like this is some huge upgrade yet. Did you see Daniel Jones play? Do we need to replay highlights of last year for you?
I actually want to say, how many starts did Winston have last year? How many starts did DJ have?
Yeah.
Jameson, I think, had 7.
Yeah.
How many starts did...
It's a big difference, those two.
How many starts did Russell have?
You know what the difference is?
How many starts did DJ have?
I have to look up the exact stats, but yeah.
I'm just saying, I think DJ had the least amount of starts. I'm just saying.
And, well, he also had, contract issues why he got benched, let's be honest. But that's... I just
talk about second string quarterbacks coming in and start over DJ.
I just feel like if you ask most people, would you rather have Daniel Jones or Jameis Winston? Would you rather have Daniel Jones or Russell Wilson? I feel like most people would say those two over Daniel Jones in a heartbeat, except the Colts GM apparently. Deb says, Connor says, Deb, yeah, if he was told that, but if not, he's probably like, what the hell? But Jameis can be paid good considering, and now how can he make his incentives if he's not starting? Did same to Drew Lock. Again, I don't think there was an issue with there. I really don't. I think the conversation was there, saying point blank that we're not guaranteeing anything. So, we'll see. We'll see overall, but, that's where I think it is going to be. Jay says, 100 catches, 400 yards. Well, first off, he had 93 catches for 699 yards, so that's basically 700.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying we've said it all along. You can't keep throwing the guy the ball 2 yards down the field or expecting him
behind the line of scrimmage.
Yeah, like I'd love to see the depth of target for his throws. I don't know if that's a stat that somebody's got somewhere. Let's see, depth of target. I'm going to see if somebody's got it. Wan'Dale Robinson. Here we go. The average depth of target in 2024 for Wan'Dale Robinson was 3.9 yards, guys. Average. That's pretty bad.
And there's some deep balls thrown to him too.
So there's only one. Let's see here. I'm looking here. There's only one guy who was considered a starting wide receiver last year with a lower depth of target than Wan'Dale Robinson. That's how bad it was. Second lowest among starting wide receivers in the league. So I don't know if you can blame him on the lower yards when he's not getting the ball, but 3.9 yards down the field on average. So Deb says, Jay, you don't think this is an upgrade over Drew Lock and Tommy DeVito? Thank you. Connor says, call me crazy. I just think Jameis is more exciting to win than Russell. Interceptions or not. Also, I thought Russell was first round. He was third round. Yeah, Russell Wilson was a third round pick. I remember very, very clearly that year he was drafted. Mel Kiper going nuts, bobbing his head back and forth, and his nest full of hair just going crazy because he was screaming from his chair for somebody to draft Russell Wilson. By the way, he was also, as soon as that done, screaming for somebody to draft Kirk Cousins right after that. He was right on both those. I'll give him credit. He's not always right. I'm not that guy, but he was definitely right on those two. But yeah, he was a third round pick, and point blank, he was a guy that some people were extremely high on. He was that kind of guy that, every draft there's a quarterback's like, oh, this guy gets the right scenario. He can succeed. Every single draft there's that guy. 9 times out of 10, that guy is not the guy who will succeed in the right scenario, or else he'd be a better prospect than what he was. Russell Wilson is the I before E, except after C. Yeah,
Yep.
that's exactly what he is. Now, as far as more exciting, Jameis Winston, 100% more exciting to play. Does Jameis Winston give you a better chance to win, though? I don't think that. And that's where the difference comes into play. Is Russell Wilson is an experienced leader who won't throw the ball to the team. He's very good as far as interceptions. I think he still has a record in the NCAA actually for most throws in a row without an interception. But his interception ratio last year, 1.5% of his passes, guys. That's where he's at. Let's see, where's Jameis Winston? See if I can find Jameis
7.
4.1. So you're talking almost 3 times the interceptions. Now his touchdown percentage, 4.8. Jameis Winston, 4.4. So he has a higher touchdown percentage and a much lower interception percentage. Now, there's stats we can go into way beyond that, don't get me wrong, but this is an on-the-fly lookup real quick here. I do think that Jameis was a guy that in a pinch you could start, but I think Russell Wilson is the better starter overall. Jay says it is
as long as he looks young,
but it keeps us in QB hell, and either of these dudes is winning an NFC East game. Okay, so now I understand, I think, a little better where Jay's coming from. So what he's thinking basically is these guys are definitely an upgrade, but they're going to make it such an upgrade it might be an okay team next year and not get a good draft pick and therefore not get a good quarterback. That's where he's coming from. It sounds like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jay. And I can understand that part of it. I'm just so tired of losing, man. That's what it boils down to. I am so goddamn sick and tired of losing. I don't care anymore. I just want to win. That's all I want to do.
I thought all you want to do is just have some fun.
No.
I had a feeling you weren't the only one.
I'm not. Anyway, as me and Cheryl Crow here finish the show, Jay says Steelers didn't even try to re-sign Russ and they had no replacement. No, I will disagree with that part right there. Yeah, Steelers are the same boat as us. They're on hold with Aaron Rodgers. So the same boat we were in, I should say. We've now jumped ship apparently, but the difference with them is Russell Wilson and the offensive coordinator did not get along in Pittsburgh. They were told that point blank. That's part of why they wanted Justin Fields over Russell Wilson. Plus, obviously, the huge age gap between those two players there, too. Russell Wilson was not out of the question for the Steelers to re-sign, but they weren't going to re-sign him as long as they thought they can get Aaron Rodgers. The Giants didn't think they can get Aaron Rodgers anymore. They jumped onto him. Now, if Aaron Rodgers, let's say he decides to retire,
Steelers are effed.
Oh, they are absolutely effed. Absolutely effed. It might be the first losing season for Mike Tomlin if that happens. At this point,
it might be the first losing season for Tomlin, even if Rodgers signs.
Let's be honest. At this point, what are they going to get? Joe Flacco? They go draft Jalen Milroe?
They might do both.
I mean, this. It's dangerous territory they're now getting into. They're going to start Mason Rudolph again. That worked out so well back in the day. It's just it's a little bit scary for the Steelers as much as an exciting day for us, I think. Connor says, I say we get picks unless we're sold on Travis Hunter or Abdul. Yeah, that's basically what it boils down to. If you're not sold on a guy being, again, I hate using the Gettleman term here, but a gold jacket guy, then yeah, trade down. Because I don't think this is a very top-heavy draft. I don't think there's a massive difference going down from 3 to 10. I really don't.
I have to agree with you. Like, sometimes you look at some guys and some needs, like, as much as you're not supposed to draft needs, like, sometimes if you're in that top 10, like, there's a need that's right there in reach. Go reach.
Yep.
But I feel like the level of talent of just from that top, from like 3 to 10.
Well, it's also look at the guys who are going to be available at that 10 area there because, okay, let's say Hunter's gone, Abdul Carter's gone. Let's say that, a guy like, obviously, You're going to have the 2 quarterbacks gone, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders. There's 4 picks right there. So now let's say you lose, I don't know, let's say Tet goes somewhere at that point. There's 5, Mason Graham 6, Will Campbell 7. Like, you're getting the area where you're going to have guys like Ashton Gentry available. You're going to have, Maboo available. I mean, there's going to Will Johnson. There's definitely going to be guys still available that are very good. Like, I don't think it's crazy to talk about doing that and moving down and maybe getting an extra pick for next year to go get the quarterback when it's a better quarterback draft.
Yeah.
Like, there's options, guys, now. I love options. Jay says, yeah, take Hunter, play him, wide receiver only. Sounds good to me. Yeah, I'm just still not a fan of Hunter. I'm sorry. And I hope I'm wrong. He seems like a good kid, but it's just the vibe I get. Connor says, I'd be fine with Jameis for 2 years, even if losing, as long as we're competitive again with teams. I'll be happy. Then 2 years, get Arch Manning if we think he's got it. Here's the problem, Connor. We have been, and this is going to sound really bad, so bear with me as I get to where I'm getting to. I promise you that. We actually have been competitive. If you look at a lot of the games before the injuries happened the second half of this year, going back to 24, first half of 25, a lot of those games were within a touchdown. We talked about in the show plenty of times where we keep getting close, but we keep losing. So if you're okay with 2 more years of that, that's your call. But listen, I'm not going to hold out 2 more years for Arch Manning. Not going to do it. Especially because no guarantee
you get him. Purpose.
There's no guarantee you get him. There's no guarantee he's great.
Yeah.
Jay says they probably realize that the Browns are taking Sanders. I don't think that. I still don't think that. I don't think Sanders is going to be allowed to go. Like, his daddy's going to stop him to go to the Browns. I think the Browns are going to take Carter or Hunter. I don't know which one they're going to take, but I think one of those 2 is going to be a Cleveland Brown. And it wouldn't shock me at all if it's Carter, just to make Myles Garrett happy.
Yeah.
Jay says, yeah, you're Connor. It's not better football necessarily, but it will be a lot more fun to watch. Yeah, I mean, we're going to have – listen, I'm telling you, even with Russell Wilson, Jay, we're going to be fun to watch. I'm telling you right now, we're going to be much better than we were the last couple of years. Connor says exactly. Jay Ferries. Jay says, Tennessee flew their whole media team to that pro day. They aren't trading out. I don't disagree with you. We said many times before we don't think they ever were.
Yep.
We have been very clear on that since day one. Why would a team with just Will Levis that let Mason Rudolph go, that didn't sign a single free agent quarterback, why or be linked to a big one either, for that matter, why would they not try to take the best quarterback in this draft when they're the first overall pick? That's where they're clearly crazy. Going. Deb says fun would wear thin by midseason. Agreed. Jay says Kyle Bowler throwing from his one knee. LOL. Yep, that's what got him drafted. Crazy stuff. Connor says, guess Tennessee don't like their quarterback. He'll be released, I guess. No, Will Levis to be a nice cheap backup for a couple years. He's got some starting experience, so go for it. Robert NY Giants says, get Carter 100, get quarterback second round. I like the second round quarterback part, depending on who you want. What I mean by that is I don't mind not getting one in the first round, getting one later on, but who do you want in the second round? I'll ask you that, Robert. I mean, I'm not a big fan of Jackson Dart. I think he's overrated prospect just because of how bad this QB draft is. And I do think he's going to go in the first round, by the way, too, as well. Tyler Shuck is now moving up boards. For some people, even saying he might go like end of the first, early second round, which is insane to me with the injury history this kid has. Plus the fact that he's like 35 in the draft. He's like Brandon Whedon here at this point. Remember him back in the day with the Browns? That's what he reminds me of at this point.
He's going to come out smoking cigarettes on stage.
Like Jalen Milroe can't throw the ball. That's kind of an important part of being a quarterback. So yeah, I'm not.
Kind of reminds me like of Chad Pennington back in the day.
Chad Pennington. Listen, I would take a Chad Pennington right now. Chad Pennington knew how to win.
Yeah,
he was never flashy. He knew how to win.
Well, he also couldn't throw the ball more than 20 yards.
That's fine. I don't care. He knew how to win.
Yeah,
I don't care how you win. I just care you win. I'm really simple
what Dart
like that.
Reminds me of.
I don't know. I'm like I said, I think he's going to need a lot of coaching. Yeah. I really do. And I'm not so sure that wherever he goes, he's going to get that chance to get that coaching. So hopefully for his sake, he does go with a team like the Giants that would consider him for the year, because that's where he needs to go. By the way, I'm looking it up right now. Chad Pennington's career record 44-37. Keep in mind he was a Jet for most of his career.
I was
He
going
had
to
a
say,
winning
and
record.
Dolphin.
Yeah, Jets and Dolphin and a winning record. That's just insane.
Especially that time he played. Both teams
Oh yes.
were poop.
Oh yes. Jay says, how can you even try to fake other teams out about who you are going to pick when your quarterback is Will Levis? Agreed 100%. 100%. Yeah. Maybe you just show up to press conferences and put some mayo in your coffee. I don't know. Maybe that's the plan. Connor says, Deb, we need fun again. Our record has been so bad for so long. Plus, I really think Jameis with Dable can get him on the right way of playing. He was doing good under Saints coach until he got hurt. Yeah, again, I don't think this guarantees, though, either that you don't see Jameis Winston at some point, guys. Like, if Russell Wilson is not playing well, hypothetically, they're not going to keep him in to block Jameis Winston. They're going to say, okay, let's go, because Dable is coaching for his job. Shane is moving for his job. Like, this is all about keeping their jobs this year. Point blank. Robert, New York Giants said, would you trade back at lineman? If you mean offensive lineman, no. I would look to get maybe a guard in the second round or something like that, but I wouldn't trade back and get an offensive lineman in the first round. There's some good ones, I think, that are available in the second round. I would look at, if I'm going position of need here, per se. Depends on how far back you go. But I'm gonna say a little crazy here. Because we don't have the need at quarterback as big as we had. And if we could move back to like 10, 12 around there, maybe we go in and get Ashton Jeanty. Maybe we go get Ted out of Arizona State and give another weapon. I was
that before.
Yeah, like maybe that's not the craziest thing in the world now, because you're setting yourself up for success for the quarterback you go get. You got 4 more years now of Neighbors on a rookie deal. You'd have 5 more years of now for one of those two to start. Maybe it's not so crazy. You know, we'll find out. Connor says, Travis, I'd play him wide receiver, then bring in if we need him in a close game or losing. Again, that's if you have faith in Travis Hunter. If you do.
Yeah.
Captain America, let's go. We can have an elite defense this year. Thank you, Captain.
Yeah.
He says, Giants don't want Sanders. I don't believe that. I think the Giants aren't so sure that what they want to do as far as Sanders. I do think that. I think there's probably some people in the room that want him and some people in the room that don't want him. That's where I think they're at.
Yeah.
Jay says, yeah, Captain, let's run play action with Russ and Tracy and play lights out defense. Fook it. Fook, F-O-O-K. I think it's what he means. I think Jay's trying to be nice and not cuss at us. I feel like that's the first time Jay's been nice to us. Definitely bought us those beers. That said, LFG. Captain America, let's get a defense team's fear. I don't know if I'm gonna get a defense team's fear, but I think this is definitely a defense that I think that is going to be a lot better with a competent offense potentially here, you know? My dad chimes in and says, if Russell Wilson's contract only guarantees him $10.5 million and he's not guaranteed to start if someone outplays him. Very valid point. Very valid point. Like I said, I if he doesn't play well, I'm not saying that Jameis Winston will come off the bench and take a spot. You know, I don't think that's crazy to think at all. I really don't. Jay says, touche. You got to respell touch wrong. I'm not sure which one. Touche. A little sad face. Captain America, have future quarterback coming next year. Yeah, I mean, again, you don't have to force the pick now. Hirsch for real. Hello, folks. Hello.
Flying Kiwi.
My dad says, we don't have to reach for a quarterback at 3 now. Take the best player available because the talent gap between the best players and the best quarterbacks is huge. Yes, I won't disagree with that either. We've said it all along. The quarterbacks here that we're talking about taking at 3, let's be honest, are mid to late first round picks in most drafts. But they are. But being quarterback is what quarterback is. They're going to go a lot quicker, that's for sure, than usual. Jay says, who do you want? Kevin D. And then Hirsch for real says, Giants are still drafting Shedeur at 3. And my dad says, I like the kid at OSU. No, assuming he's not saying Oklahoma State and he's saying Ohio State University. Obviously, we're talking to Will Howard here, which is an interesting option too. It's an interesting option. Captain America says, I wouldn't trade up or down to this draft. I would just stay and get the best player available. That depends on who's available.
And also depends on what you're getting offered.
Yeah. Captain America, Giants country, let's ride.
Let's ride.
No Name says, how does Daniel Jones' contract work now since neck injury when he goes to new teams? Do they put something in there saying you don't get paid if you ain't playing or what? Because he could go, ow, my neck. That's something you have to discuss with the Colts.
And the lawyers.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some kind of protection potentially in there, but they might also not because there was other teams that were interested in Daniel Jones' services, and it's a 1-year deal.
And it's also like, I mean, it's NFL. You always take a gamble on a player like who could be 100% healthy and not play for the rest of the year because of an injury that happens week 1 in the first quarter.
Yeah,
that's part of what the league is.
What happens? Captain America, Daniel Jones makes custom turtlenecks on the side. Okay.
It's actually support for his neck.
Okay. Jay says, yeah, that's because Shane Ball was trying to do the New York Bills thing. No Name says, then why would Jameis sign if he can't get those incentives? He can go somewhere else. Let's be honest. Jameis Winston did not have a massive market, guys. Here's why. Jameis is 30. People know what he is. And you're not going to rush to go sign a backup quarterback right now during what was at the time the prime of free agency.
Yeah.
You're going to see a lot of guys adding quarterbacks later on still. Ralph says they will trade down and for a lower first-round pick and an additional first-round pick in 2025. I'm totally convinced they want to draft Arch Manning in 2025. Well, Arch Manning, I don't think he's going to come out in 2025, guys. I think he's going to come out in 26. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Kuiper did that with Casey Clausen, too. I mean, Jimmy Clausen? Or Clausen Pickles? Or what's... Captain America says Malik will make him look good. I do think Neighbors is going to help Russell Wilson big time. I really do. And I think Malik Neighbors has got to be like doing a little Irish jig right now. The fact that he's going to get 2 guys who are better than anybody's had starting last year.
100%.
With still the ability to improve beyond that, depending on what we do as far as rookie and stuff like that, Jason's interesting. Kirk Cousins might be the odd man out here. Actually, the rumor is, who knows if the rumors are true? We don't really talk about the show because we've been so focused now on trying to get us ready for draft stuff here. Kirk Cousins is rumored to not be interested in getting traded from the Falcons because Keith Money has a no trade clause. He's not interested in getting traded till after the draft. He wants to make sure wherever he goes did not sign a quarterback. Not draft a quarterback in the first round. He doesn't want to deal with what he dealt with this year. He wants a team that's got to give him a leash, give him the whole year. Just tells me he's playing from a place of fear, which I've never liked in a quarterback. JL says Sheryl Crow is great, man. I would read that for a second wrong, like as if saying Sheryl Crow is a great man. I'm like, that's not a man.
Yeah, that's a man, baby. Real man.
Andre says, "What up, boys? I won't be mad."
What up?
Round 1, pick 3, Hunter. Round 2, pick 34, D. Alexander. We're going like, look at this. He's got the whole draft already. Damn. Like, let's see what happens. There's a lot of moves to make there, but yeah,
it's a lot of time still for things to change.
A lot's going to change. That's for sure. Money Mike says, I still think we draft Sanders. Sanders sits for 1 year and Jameis is in his back next year. We'll see. That's definitely a possibility. That's for sure. Jay says, great tiny desk concert by her. She is still hot. Isn't she like in her 60s now? I feel like she was big like 30 years ago. Like she's got to be. And then she tried the whole country thing for a while. I remember.
She's still be in her 50s.
She's 63. I told you she's probably in her 60s now. Yeah. My dad says, you have the right idea, Andre. Captain America says, Giants don't want Sanders. We have a chance to have an elite defense next year. Our future quarterback is coming next year. See, Robert Kinsella says, I believe Rodgers told the Giants not coming to you guys, so they turned around, signed Russell Wilson. Either that or Russell Wilson said, guys, I got another offer here. Yeah, that's possible too. Jay says, we'll probably draft a Kyle Loletta Webb type now. Oh, yes, they are great guys, aren't they, those two? And I hate to say that because Webb's a good quarterback coach now in Denver, but Vinny G-Man, what up, fellas? What's up, Vinny? Captain America, couple O-L-T-E. Are we doing random letters here? Are you suggesting we get offensive lineman and tight end? Jay says, we were competitive early last season, so for sure. Like I said, yeah, before everything, the injuries, we really were, you know. Jay says, Theo season? Mike, how are you not a fan of Hunter? His talent is undeniable to me, especially as a wide receiver. Him and Neighbors be unstoppable. Like I said, I look at the competition he played. That's where I'm not a fan of him. I also don't like the fact that he doesn't seem to fit any particular spot like that as well. Now, that's not to take away from the fact that he can also play, on defense as well. That shouldn't hurt him when I look at him as a receiver. But I don't know. There's something I don't like things that are. And I feel like I'm going to be an old man saying this here. I don't like things that are new. What I mean by like that is like when there's something that you've never seen in the league before, something tells you haven't seen it for a reason. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's something where you go, when you probably haven't seen it because it's probably not a good idea. You know,
or so it's tried it hasn't worked.
Yeah, and I worry about Hunter's size. And again, you know, Devonta Smith is 170 pounds. He's an example of a really tiny receiver. Look at what happened to Tank Dell with his injury so far, 160 some odd pounds there. Hunter's 185 pounds. He's about 20 pounds light from where I really want him to be. But you add 20 pounds on him, is he going to be even?
Is he going to be as fast? Is he going to be as athletic? Like
I said, I don't know. Jay says Drew is such a bear on all the top players. I'm not that mean. No Name says, I like that wide receiver, Washington. He at least played against tough teams compared to Travis Hunter. Yeah, I mean, like I said, Hunter, to me, he feasted on bad teams, and I'm not trying to knock him. You got the schedule you got, but it's part of the evaluation process for us to look at that. It's a fair thing to look at. Robert Kinsella says, I'd say draft Carter at 3, build very good defensive back in the day with build very good defense back in the day with Michael, Tuck, and OC. Like I said, the injuries scare me.
I also think Carter doesn't make fast too.
Yeah. Yeah. Kevin's Kevin, my dad. I said we were saying Kevin now. I was just reading names now. Eli is mentor to Jackson Dart. What if he recommends him to Merritt and Shane? Well, it's going to carry a lot of weight. That's for damn sure. Does it carry enough weight for them to change how they draft? From a lot of things I'm hearing and reading, that the Giants aren't really mentioning Jackson Dart, and they don't seem to be very high on him. Now, again, we have said this before. Joe Shane, unlike past GMs, has been very good about hiding what he actually thinks about players and will throw smoke screens left and right. So maybe that's thrown out there because of the fact that they actually do like Jackson Dart, and this is all a diversion to make us think that they don't. I don't know. But I don't know. I just
what this team does.
Yeah, so we'll find out, I guess, in a month. Captain America says, I think Sanders is going to be land with the Raiders or the Saints. I don't think he gets past the Raiders. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
Jay says Raiders just got Geno. Yeah, Geno's also older as well. So Jay says Pennington had a noodle arm and could still get the job done. Damn straight. Robert says with Carter, KT, Burns, it'd be a nice trio, would be. Captain America says if the Giants go for O-line, they have to strike early. I don't know. I think you can still go ahead and get a guy like the second, third round at guard. Like, I don't think they need to rush to get a tackle. Tackle's probably the strongest part of this offensive line, assuming that Andrew Thomas is healthy and Illuminor is who he was last year. Jay says, hope they can get the North Dakota ST Kid in the second. Yeah, I'd be a good guy for the guard, the kid from North Dakota State, that's for sure. But again, it's so much that happens in front of him. It's hard to say. It's hard to have a specific target in the second round. It's even having a hard of a ticket. Okay, we're already talking about who's going to be available at 3, let alone the 30 picks later past that. No Name says Cam Ward reminds me a bit of Deshaun Watson. I can see Browns move up to get him, and he gets hurt too, and still have quarterback problem. I don't think anybody's moving up to get him. I think he's a Titan. Jace's offensive line going to go fast. Look at those guards, contracts for barely above average players. Lots of demand, no supply. Yeah, that's a valid point. Tons and tons of guys get overpaid offensive line. That happens every year, but yeah, that's definitely got way overpaid this year. John Runyon Jr. looks actually like a decent contract compared to everybody else got.
Yeah. Got to protect that quarterback.
All right, and we're going to start cutting off in a minute, guys. We're almost an hour in. Appreciate you guys all the comments. Don't get me wrong, but we got a lot of stuff we still have to do ourselves here tonight. We weren't even planning on doing a show here tonight. So Andy says, how do you feel about taking Dart second round? Again, Giants have more access to us than we do, but we're not huge fans of him. Then he says it feels like it took 40 years to bring in Russell Wilson. Damn straight it does. And Russell Wilson isn't even 40 yet, so that just tells you. Jay says, yeah, Vinny, we've been trying to sign him since birth. No Name, I could do this all day. Hi, Captain America. Jay says, Drew got his sources. Oh, stop. Insider, elite insider info. No, I don't. Listen, I have some sources. I'm not trying to say I have none, but I don't sit there and pretend like I have a ton either at that point. Money Mike says, I agree with playing both ways. I don't think that's sustainable in the NFL. It's too much injury risk, but his ball skill, speed, quickness is rare, in my opinion. I don't disagree that his athleticism and all isn't elite. My question is, will it translate against NFL talent? Because he hasn't been playing NFL talent. There's a fine line, a very fine line between NFL talent and non-NFL talent.
Well, his big prospect is he can play both positions.
Yes.
In the NFL, that just doesn't work. Like, you need a break.
Yep.
What position are you going to play? And half to 3/4 of the people that get drafted don't make it long-term in the NFL.
Nope.
So, yes, he's got, I guess, an extra 25% chance to make it somewhere, but does he make it in that position? And can he recover and make it somewhere else? So, to me, like, he's probably going to be a corner, but especially
I think he's going to be a receiver. I think he's better as a receiver, personally. I really do, actually. I just don't think he's going to be an elite receiver or an elite corner. And if I'm drafting somebody at 3, they have to be elite.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, you probably have more shot to be an elite corner because you're going to get a lot of interceptions, which is very, very clicky.
You put him as corner, he's going to get pushed around by these bigger receivers left and right and abused. Point blank. They're going to scheme somebody to go on him. It's going to happen. I'm telling you right now. Jay says, dude, Charles Woodson and Champ Bailey could have played both ways. I don't think Hunter can at 180 pounds, especially lots of hype. Yep. My dad says, beef up the pass rush. That's Giants football. That is Giants football, which we seem to have forgotten Giants football. But I'm still saying, and I'll say it this way, I would take Mason Graham over Abdul Carter right now because of the injury concerns. Money Mike says, if you're the GM, what's your move now? We have 2 QBs. Honestly, it's hard to say because I don't have all the info they have. I'm just being very frank. I don't have all the info they have. I don't have the ability to sit down with these guys. I don't have the ability to call up their ex-coaches and find out about them. But my move right now is if I love a quarterback, I'm still taking him. If I don't, I'm not forcing the move. That's what it boils down to. And I'm probably moving down from pick 3 if I don't love Sanders.
The move is to pay attention to the draft, do your diligence, like who, you're probably going to have Sanders at 3, so make sure you call everyone in the back room there. But your biggest due diligence, you should pay attention to your trade options.
Yes.
Your trade down, what you can get and where you drop, and how much you can get for it.
Yep, exactly. No name says Kevin. Drew's dad. Did Eli Payton recommend Daniel Jones? Row Raggy. Yeah, they definitely did. But maybe they learned. Maybe they learned at this point from that mistake and say maybe they'll listen to the Manning brothers fully because that was a bad move. Captain America, what do you think of the Texas QB? Quinn Ewers would be a guy. If I can get him into like the 3rd, 4th round around that range, and you think he's got some potential, I'm not against him. But again, I would be against him in 1st round, 2nd round. I think that's way too way too high there. Jason's goofball just flooded with fans. Soul Brother number 1, what's up, man? It says, barring major injuries, we'll win more than 7 games. People forget our offensive line was good in the beginning last year. Damn straight. We've said it how many times in the show? Before the injuries, this was an average offensive line.
Yep.
Jay gives I think is that the praying symbol there. It looks like it's hard to see with the white background there. Jay says,
yeah.
Instead of if Aziz stays healthy, it's if Thomas can stay healthy now, Soul Brother. Yes, that's a very valid point. And then my dad says Mason Graham and Sexy Dexy will collapse the pocket. That'd be a damn good duo. It really would be. But again, we've talked about it before. The problem is there's good defensive tackles you can get in the second round, third round. And it's a stacked position. So are you smart in getting the best guy to stack position? Or are you smarter to get the guy who is maybe the best guy, not a stacked position, and, go ahead and now get, your defensive tackle later on? I don't know. There's both schools of thoughts make a lot of sense. But Victor says, what about Jackson Dart in the third round? I actually wouldn't mind Jackson Dart in the third round. I don't know. It's weird that I'm anti him in the second round, but third round would be okay.
Yeah, definitely. Like, if he comes to the third round, like that's what I think his worth is. Like,
yeah, but I think he's going to go in the end of the first.
Probably.
That's my vibe. I think a team like the Steelers are going to get a little desperate. Saints, I feel like one of those teams is going to get, okay, we need a quarterback, and it's going to go take him. So another one, agreed. We need a good LT backup. Yeah, here's the problem, guys. We just signed a couple of guys, and Forsyth and what's his name out of Cleveland that is going to be our backups. Neither one of them are very good. Yeah. Robert said Dark going to go lower first round. I think latter first round personally. It's hard to say. Got a month to go. A lot's going to change here and there, but I do think he makes it to the first round. That's for sure. All right, guys, that's going to call it a night here for us here because we got to go. We got stuff to do here still tonight. Like I said, wasn't planning on doing an episode, but the Giants had to go out and make a move on a day we don't record usually. What the hell, Giants?
Got to go do homework.
But we appreciate you guys coming on here for a special edition here of Two Giant Goofballs. We'll be back again for you guys tomorrow night, continuing our talk on running backs in the draft there. So tune on in, 9 p.m. Eastern. As always, we are live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, X/Twitter, and of course, Rob's favorite,
True Thinking Profile,
OnlyFans. No.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
That is a watch.
Yes, my LinkedIn profile. And of course, as always, we're available the next day at all the audio podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Amazon, all the big ones there. So if you guys haven't already, do me a favor, hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that share button. And of course, listen, y'all know we always talk about it. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. If you want to buy us some beers on there, support the show with super chats, stars, or the freeway, hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe, guys. Again, appreciate you guys for coming on here with us tonight for an impromptu. We didn't even do anything beforehand. We just kind of we're going live. So appreciate you guys for coming on
before
with
the
this.
episode started.
Yeah,
we just went, hey, guess what
Let's
happened?
do this.
Let's
That's rad.
That's
rad. So appreciate you guys for coming on as always. And as always, Giants fans,
that's right. I mean, go G-Man.
Go G-Man.
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 Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please